Justin, for the introduction, and welcome to the Outlook for FutureWork 2024. As you'll see from the screen, I've taken 2024 off because this is about 2024 and beyond. My name is Iain Fisher. I work for ISG as a director in the research side, and I'm the global lead for Future Workplace and ESG, which will become more apparent as we go through. The focus of this session is really to look at the future of work, the trends in the market, and what's happening in terms of AI, things to watch out for in terms of leadership skills, and what the workplace of the future needs to look like. So let's recap very slightly, because I know last year you focused on hybrid work and flexible work. There is a reason for rewinding slightly, and it's around 2020-21. There was a wish, as I call it, to get back to the office. We have this triangle, as you'll see on the screen here. It looks a bit like the recycling logo. But really what it does is it joins three workplaces together that exist, and the word work is going to become very important because it determines which thing we're talking about, the workplace or the future of work, and they are slightly different. So in 2021, there was a wish to get back to the office. Because of the pandemic, everybody was at home. Going through the cycle, as you'll see on the left there, physical leads to digital, digital leads to human, human leads to physical, and such like, and it goes round and round and round. Going clockwise, when people went home during the pandemic, there was a human need to get back to the office. There was a challenge about how do we meet the connectedness that people required, the water cooler conversations and such like, and therefore there was a desire to get back to the office. And that wish became a desire. Once they were in the office, they realized that actually the workplace of old was no longer really what they wanted. In 22, we saw the trend becoming more hybrid and collaborative spaces. And that still has the same cycle, you see, but it goes in the reverse direction. We now see the addition of multiple offices in terms of home and office, physical locations, driving, again, a digital requirement, which was augmentation, automation, and as you'll see in the picture, a requirement for experience parity. Again, that will become more important later. And that led to a human workplace and a human experience that was required to be delivered, which was different depending on the workplace you're in. And this leads to 23 and beyond, which is really around how you design the hybrid workplace experience. And I use the word workplace because there is a difference between the future of work and the future workplace. And I'm going to touch on the two in this session. The future of work is really the work that we need to do in the future. It is not about how you're going to do it. It's about what you're going to do. And there is a difference between the work done by humans and the work done by technology. As we have all heard, we've now had roughly 2 or 3 minutes of this session. We haven't used the word AI yet. AI and other technologies will take over certain jobs and roles in the workplace. And therefore, human work and technology work will be symbiotic. They will work together, but there will become a point where certain roles will be done completely by or be done as a majority of technologies like AI and such like that will take over that job, and it becomes a point where work becomes redundant. So the future of work is that work needed? The future workplace, that's why I started with the three workplaces, is how you join the physical, the digital, and the human workplace together, because there are overlapping areas that you have to focus on. And hopefully that has already been addressed, but the future workplace is how you will work, and it's when you join those three things together. So there is a difference, and I just want to touch on the future workplace quickly as we go through. So at ISG, we've joined the whole thing together. We have this transit map, this tube map, and it covers many of the topics you're discussing today. It covers new joiners. So again, I'll just call out some colors for people who are watching. Obviously, this is on a large screen. So the dark red color top left is about the new joiner process, how you deploy devices and such like. It could be repurposing, with the green arrow at the top is the ESG and the recycling component. This follows a day in the life of a new joiner, a hybrid worker, a remote worker, a mobile worker, an engineer, all starting from the left-hand side. And you'll get a copy of this and you can read it more in detail. But the point of this is to show it is fully interconnected, and the future of work, the jobs that will be needed, are still needed. It's just how you're going to do it is going to be different. And therefore, by joining all this together, we can look at the security that's needed, the help desk that's needed, the support, the devices, the type of work, etc., etc., and all the components around the side that you're going to have to support with. Boiling it down, this is what that diagram shows. Really, the future workplace needs 8 things: the desire to work anywhere, the ability to work anywhere, the ability to work anywhere securely, the ability to connect wherever you are, the ability to access whatever you need, collaborate with others, be productive, and get support when you need it. And without going through all the boxes that are on the screen here, you'll see there is a difference between the remote side and the office side. Many of them are the same, but there's things in the office that are not in the remote side. And this includes seamless integration with the offices, the digital workplace and the physical workplace that we talked about before. This includes things like green IT. This includes, for the remote side, automation and things that we can make you more productive. So we're starting to see and have seen the deployment of technologies that support productivity, that support collaboration. Everyone is probably on Teams or Zoom or one of these collaborative tools right now. You will all have OneDrive, or you'll have something like the SharePoint that allows you to allows you to connect and deliver documentation and work seamlessly together. Likewise, all the support mechanisms that you have in place, whether it's technological or managerial, will need to be in place to allow you to deliver that. But one of the key questions is, as I mentioned before, how do you deliver experience parity? Well, experience parity is really about generational differences. So what we have is a whole bunch of data. So it's 1,300 data points in here. And we asked a number of questions around, based on age, how often do you want to work at home? Do you have the equipment you need at home? And is your environment suitable to work at home? 3 basic questions that might seem innocuous, but are actually quite important to ask. And as you'll see, there is a difference. The older you get and the younger you get, the less you want to work at home. You want to be in an office. So what we find is the younger generation who've been at university or have done vocational training, they want that experience. They want the experience of being in an office and working there. They feel like they've missed out, and hence the word experience parity. The baby boomers and Gen X want to work at home more, and the older generation appear to want to work back in an office. Why? Well, let's have a look. Looking at the trends, you'll see there is literally a mirror image curve between the number of days on average that people want to work at home versus the other two, which is, do you have all the equipment you need, and is your environment suitable? Now, I'm not going to make any jokes about people wanting to get away from the other half and and go to the office for some peace and quiet, but there is literally a mirror imaged result that shows older and younger generations do not have the equipment they need at home. Maybe there's a technological gap that needs to be filled. Maybe the younger generation have the technology, or they're sharing office. They're sharing like kitchens and all sorts of things at home. They're in shared accommodation. They don't have the ability, the bandwidth to work seamlessly privately at home. That's another option. And therefore the environment isn't suitable, and they want to get back to the office because they haven't got their own home, they haven't got their own place. And likewise, people at the older generation, want to get back to a more sort of community environment to actually meet others and work. That seems to be the way this is going. Interestingly, the same data shows no difference between ethnicity and gender. It is simply on age, and therefore that is a direct correlation, and it is statistically significant, what we found. So that is an output. So now we know what the workplace is, and we now know what people kind of want. What is the future of work, and how does it join up? I describe this on the left side as a clock, 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And on the right-hand side, this is more of the HRE type piece of work. The future of work is the work we'll do in the future. As I mentioned, it has to be done where you want, when you want, securely and with access. But it's all about delivering a seamless experience on the 3 o'clock position of the wheel in blue. Once you deliver an experience, we also have much more conscientious employees. We have much more sustainability inputs here. You'll see a sustainability culture coming in. And therefore, typically, some organizations start at 12 and end up at 6 because they go through the experience gap. They realize that they can deliver a new experience. There's new things that the employees want, that the business might need to deliver because there's regulation or there's compliance that has to be delivered. And therefore, you have to work in a new and more sustainable way. So many organizations who work from the HR side start at 12 and finish with an output in the sustainability side. However, there is a large number of organizations right now who are starting at 6 o'clock, ESG, sustainability, and one of the biggest outputs of sustainability is actually future workplace. So if I was attacking this from a more sustainable culture, we're looking at property reduction, commercial property reduction. changes to working patterns, which has reductions in commute, it has reductions in supply chains, it has reductions in the way you actually consume things within the business. You'll see there DLA, decarbonisation level agreements. We're starting to see contractual agreements in the market where sustainable market drivers are making organisations decarbonise their business models. And that leads to future workplace side. So the wheel on the left-hand side of this is really a 12 to 6 model if you're coming from the HR side, or if you're coming from the more sustainable side, the business operation side, it's typically a 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. side, and that has the same, well, it's a wheel, it just keeps going round and round, and we see a lot of organizations there. The key thing though is experience. Either way, you always have to deliver experience. And this is about new talent models, new ways of working, because if you're going to close offices or you're going to change the way people work and you're going to have new hybrid working models, you need to deliver that experience parity either through hybrid work, new ways of working, new contracts, new employment models. And that requires technology, either through automation, augmentation, as we see. We all have augmented assistants on our laptops. I don't know whether you know, but there is Microsoft's Cortana. There are other ones some people buy, like Amelia, which allow you to do things in a productive way, and they are augmented in such a way that you don't really need to do much. Example being, I can push a button and ask to book 2 weeks of holiday, starting on the 12th of October. And that's it. RPA kicks off in the background. I carry on working away, and there's process using automation and like machine learning as to what has to happen, and the RPA process that goes in the background that will do all that for me, send the approvals through, and I haven't wasted 10 more minutes of my life sort of trying to work through a system online. Now, I can do that remotely through other technologies, such as I could do it in VR, for instance. There's some organizations doing that, but these are things that are not really applicable to tomorrow. They're applicable to next week and next year, metaphysically. And the reason that's important is because the data shows still that on average across the 6 major developed nations, around 40% of employees are still considering moving on and doing a different job, or even leaving the current job they're in. So when you look at the number of employees that are in these countries, that's 361 million moving parts that could move. And this is all around why, what's going on, why do they want to move, and why is it 40%? That's a big deal. That 40% that want to leave the job in 2023 are really looking at it from career development, compensation. Obviously, hardly anyone's ever happy with their compensation. They'll always want more. Interestingly, uncaring and uninspiring leaders. The pandemic developed one thing: those who had management and those who had sort of leadership that was there and supported many moving parts and many different variations of work pattern, have much more loyal and much more happy workforces. In some cases, it's the work they do, the work patterns, again, the hybrid work, and the pandemic allowed for new working patterns. But really, as you can see here, it drove out a number of behaviors that organizations have developed in some cases quite a negative way, because the business has changed. And that's why I started by saying that the future of work is different to the future workplace, because in some cases the business has changed so much that some of these jobs aren't needed in the same way they were needed before, and people are leaving. So we have this generational gap. We have this job gap, and we have these people who have left the workforce for whatever reason and aren't coming back. And as you'll see in the middle there, we have roughly over 500,000 people missing from the workforce in the UK alone. That the UK Chancellor, now Prime Minister, stood up many months ago, and they don't know where they've gone. They're literally missing in terms of, that's a tax issue, that's a workforce issue. These are people who have decided for some reason they're done with the world of work. So what do we do to make sure that people are happier and want to stay? Well, one of the key things is about leadership. Many said that it was unsupporting leaders, it wasn't to do with the happiness of the organization. Well, changing the culture of what BAU means, business as usual, and managing processes is one thing. And the hybrid workplace, the future workplace, has contributed slightly to a negative connotation for some of the people who have implemented it badly. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, almost 3/4 of people who work remotely miss some form of interaction. They go back to an office for an interaction, but there's no point in me going back to the office today to work because I miss an interaction if the people I'm going to interact with haven't gone back on the same day. So there is a need to make sure that you manage hybrid work in such a way that the work that needs to be done is managed in such that the way it's done, how it's done, is delivered in a seamless way. So people who want to work and need to work because that job exists still should be managed in such a way that they are allowed to be productive, they can collaborate, they can work the way they want to work, and that requires a human workplace leading to a digital workplace, which might need a physical workplace change. And this comes through virtual events, all the the usual stuff that we start to see. But really, it comes down to leadership behaviors and building a real culture of understanding of what personas are, what they need, and having an adaptive and flexible way of dealing with employees, which is alien for some management. It genuinely is. Usually it's something that's okay, but some people really struggle with this. And in the future of work, that's not an option, because the level of mobility is so high that the workforce is kind of king right now. It wasn't at one point, but it's coming back. And why? Because when we look at the work of the future of work, there are two things that we need to think about, and that you can put this on a 4-box model like I'm showing on the screen right now. You can map it on the level of customer interaction. So can you do it hands-on, i.e. do you have to physically be there, or can you be by yourself, like sitting at home working away? And do you have to be on site, or can you be anywhere? So is it something that you have to be hands-on or standalone, and you have to be on site, or can you be anywhere? And as you map it out, I've categorized these job types, these sort of areas, and you'll see there is a risk of automation as we move into the future. There's a large proponent of standalone jobs in manufacturing and banking and auditing, bookkeeping, accounting, finance, back office jobs that are highly automatable and are at risk in the future, mainly through AI and robotization or sort of automation type thing. Likewise, the future work candidates are on the right hand side, because people like myself, I'm in Scotland right now, so we find things like consulting, sales, analysts, educators. Interestingly, higher education educators are more likely to be remote, and even though they're hands-on, they can work anywhere, which is actually a good thing if you think about it. Because in the future of senior and further education, why wouldn't we go and source the best in the world to train everyone on the particular topic that they're being trained on, rather than just going to a static university or a static institution to learn, just happening to have whoever is in that building at that time? That's very different to the left-hand side, you'll see, which is the educators for early years. Clearly, you want local hands-on approach for your young children up to the formative years. And there's therefore a difference. Aviation, healthcare, emergency services must be hands-on, must be on-site. Those are unlikely ever to be touched. I'm not saying there's not areas within each of those that can be changed in the future, but generally, you will always still require those job types. However, let's move on to those that can be automated. What is going to be needed in the workplace of the future? When we survey organizations looking at the future workplace and the future of work, we find that there's really a number of barriers to transformation over the next 5 years, mainly skills, because technology is changing so fast, the skills aren't keeping up. The skills for those who are retraining, or the skills who are leaving the business, are in a captive market at the moment. In some areas it's not quite so hot, but then generally it is. That leads to an inability to attract talent, etc., etc. And as you'll see there again, at number 5 on the list, leadership. Leadership who aren't having the right skills or the right abilities to manage are causing transformational issues. And if I was ever to move, I would move for culture. I wouldn't move for anything else. I would want to know who I'm working with, and what we're doing is making a difference. And that is what we're seeing in the market in terms of, I have a talent, I have a skill, and therefore as the person with that talent and skill, it is more on me to decide where I want to go and feel valued. And that's what organizations are struggling with. So to do that, what they're doing is they're investing in a couple of things on the right-hand side. And as we put it on here, the 3 things on the left drive 2 things on the right. And this is the dichotomy we face. One is investment in training. We find clearly we have to invest in the skill sets and the shortage that we have. Either we buy it or we train it. However, hot on the heels, as you can see, the two stand out a mile compared to the rest, is automation. The acceleration of automation of process is pushing either train it, invest in that training, or we're going to have to automate it, because the world of business and the world of work doesn't stand still. And therefore, if you can't get the skill, you can't get the talent to do a process, you work around it and you try to automate, or you try to basically work around. Now, management is one of the key issues, and I've highlighted here on a number of the things we have. There's about 20 or so dots on there. The yellow ones represent the leadership skills, generally recognized across the globe. This is global data. Priority versus focus. We can see here that things like leadership and influence is a really hot topic. I've put on some of the technological ones at the top, because in terms of the skill sets that management are expected to have, includes some technologies like AI, big data, creative thinking, analytical thinking. That's quite consulting type thinking. And management need to know that, because they're no longer managers, they're leaders. And therefore they need to pick up leadership skills. They need to pick up the ability to influence and discuss. They need to manage talent. They have to teach and mentor. These are all things that everybody should be doing day to day anyway, but this is becoming much more important as we go up the tree over the next 5 years, because if we can't drill this into management, look at where AI and big data is. The technology is coming, right? So if we can't get the people to do this, and people get stuck in their ways, if they're not more flexible, we will have to automate, and you will find that more jobs will become more automated and be replaced by things like AI, machine learning. I mean, think insurance, claims management, banking, tellering, and clerking. These are all things. Why would I need a manager to manage robots? I need a person to manage a machine, basically. I don't need 5. So AI is on the rise, and it's all coming from experience. So no longer are employees going to need to go somewhere or to be with someone to do something. It will be an assistant, or it will be something that does it for them. Right now, as I mentioned, this is a real example on the left where the digital, the hybrid, and the human workplace all work together from a workplace perspective. But this all revolves around experience management. The example I gave you was real. It revolves around knowledge engines, understanding what's being asked. So things like booking a meeting room, or finding information, or checking policies and documents, or things that I need to do, or querying information, is all going to be augmented and automated using AI. Right now, there's several conversational AIs that allow you to do that. That conversational intelligence, which will allow organizations to mine it, gives the meaning, the understanding, employee moods and sentiment. These are all things that are being built into workplace right now, subject to GDPR and capturing that data. That analytics allows management to understand the needs of the business, to generate business intelligence, to improve experience for the employee, and to improve end customer experience, because without one, you don't have the other. And then finally, it allows you to automate learning. So actually, you can take those extracts and start to build new learning opportunities for people to build upon and self-improve. What does that mean in the future? So very quickly, you can read these yourself as I go through them, but this is effectively the changing landscape globally over the next 5 years of jobs. High growth jobs in blue, technically redundant jobs in grey. Starting the top left, as you'll see here, everything is to do with like AI, so, sustainability, as I mentioned, the 12 to 6 and the 6 to 12. Those are the top 2 things in the globe right now, with about 65% swing in terms of importance that we're focusing on. Anything else is to do with business intelligence, security, making sure the business understands what it needs to do and is secure doing it. Remember, going back to the blocks I put up, security is one of the key things that you have to make sure that's there. Anything to do with analytics, RPA, robotics, big data, digital transformation, the technological jobs that are coming down the track may seem technology, but actually are going to be embedded into BAU overall. Gone are the days where we have managers and people who transfer data from one system to another, or look at accounting, tellers, clerks, cashiers, data entry, anything to do with processes like loans or policies or even checking internal policies, that will all likely have some form of machine learning attached to it. So rules-based machine learning. There'll be things for like absence management. There'll be, these exist now, but they'll have a manual intervention. This will have a much more automated input. So unfortunately, I'll come back to it in a couple of minutes, but unfortunately, the life of HR is going to get a little bit different. It's going to change, but it's going to get a little bit different. So over the next 5 years, we're going to start to see jobs changing in a big, big way. So some examples. What does the future hold? We can expect a role reversal, and I'm giving you some examples from AI. So at the moment, humans manage jobs and they manage machines. In the future, AI is going to manage the humans, right? And that's effectively, we will be following what the computer decides. Now that's very, sort of Terminator-ish, such like the machine managing the human. But that is what is happening in the world right now. We will soon be the ones assisting the machine doing the heavy lifting, whereas the machine's doing all the calculation and the decision, and we will just be doing the output. Likewise, white-collar jobs, management jobs will become vastly more efficient using AIs and such like. I can go into several AIs and I can literally say, type me a script for Python or whatever that does the following, and within seconds it will write me the code. Copy and paste. Now, there are issues, as I put on the bottom. The watch out is, as more and more people, management and non-management, use generative AI for work, the water becomes slightly muddied. So we have IPR issues, intellectual property rights issues. We have content issues. So actually, AI is already making it harder to identify truth because it mines for patterns. So technically, and I was at a session in the US where I listened to the director of the FBI speaking, actors could influence decisions and thinking by changing AI algorithms and flooding certain things with information to change the AI's algorithm. So it's harder to identify truth, substance, and learning. And that's an issue we all have to think about. But day-to-day work at this point in time, generative AI, cognitive AI, is all possible to use, and it is it's here now. So let's just quickly finish on a couple of real jobs that we have in the marketplace. AI encoding ethicists. These are job titles that will be here in the next couple of years. We've already seen some of them. Where I have examples, I've put above the box. AI coding ethicists. These are people who are training in ethics and are coding based on that ethical side. Jumping to number 6 quickly. AI in the future will require your psychologist. Your AI is going to need to shrink. So that is something where we need to understand that AI will become effectively a living thing, and it will require tender, loving care to make sure it doesn't go off the rails. It will need to sit on the couch and speak to a psychologist to keep it going. You're going to have already AR and augmented journeys that consume pathways and learning about what people are looking at to make the experience better. Chatbots and things for financial wellness coaches. Right now in Australia, in every primary school, there is a human technology integration specialist. They make use of all the technology that you have, and they help you understand the best ways to use it. So every school has that. You're going to have in organizations chief productivity officers making use of like the excess capacity brokers, making sure that all the assets you have are fully used so that you are as productive as you can be and you're consuming all the assets you have. Data analysts, as you saw already, they're going to become much more down the line in terms of importance of what they're doing, consuming huge amounts of data at the edge to make real-time decisions. And I mentioned finally HR changing. Number 10, digital health resource manager. You're not going to be human resources manager, you'll be digital health resource managers. The mind is as important as the body, is as important as the job. And we're starting to see now much more in the kind of humanistic side and the conscientious consumerism side, these digital resource managers with a health aspect to them. So overall, AI is going to take a huge proportion of the workload of the future of work going forward. But please remember, there is a difference between the future of work and the future workplace. The future workplace is like how you're going to do what you're going to do. The future of work, which is this, It's what you're going to do, and what you're going to do is going to change. Thank you very much.
For more content on tech and leadership, subscribe to nasscom YouTube channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.